Coming up on One Detroit, from rockabilly to the wah-wah sound, Detroit's Dennis Coffey on making music in Motown. Plus the Michigan Opera Theater's virtual performance with the Children's Choir. Also coming up, the Miracles' Mark Scott on a song for our times right now. And then, expanding arts and culture coverage with the Detroit Free Press. I'm Christy McDonald. Stay with me. One Detroit is coming up.
Support for this program provided by W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, MASCO Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. MASCO, serving Michigan communities since 1929. The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. NISSAN Foundation, and viewers like you.
Hey, One Detroit, I'm Christy McDonald. It's so good to have you with us. Tonight, we are filling the arts and culture void with a show solely dedicated to musicians, performances, and plans for entertainment in a post-COVID-19 world. Coming up on One Detroit, musician Dennis Coffey, from rockabilly to the wah-wah sound, making music in Motown. Plus, Stephen Henderson meets up with Mark Scott from The Miracles for a new song that describes the times we're facing now. Also ahead, I'm going to talk with music writer Brian McCollum from the Detroit Free Press about our new arts and culture partnership and the future of music post-COVID-19. And then the Michigan Opera Theater's Children's Choir on a virtual performance this week. And then we will end with some of the world's best ballerinas. It is all coming up for you on One Detroit.
Well, I've been here for 11 years. We pack it, so I'm still here, so it's a great room. Back in the day, I worked at Motown Studio A, is about 2 miles from here, and now I'm working here, and I still go to the museum and play sometimes, so I've traveled 2 miles in my career. Yeah, I was there every day, so I did Cloud 9, Just My Imagination, Psychedelic Shack, Someday We'll Be Together, Nitty Gritty with Gladys. It just went on and on. Norman Whitfield came in with an arrangement of a song on Cloud 9, and I had a wah-wah pedal. He says, that's it. So in 2 weeks, I was backing up the Temptations in the studio on that record, and then I was there all the time. Check it out. See what we have here.
Early on, Dennis Coffey tried collecting the records he played on, like J.J. Barnes, The Shades of Blue, Jamie Coe, The Volumes, a whole lot of Northern Soul, back before his Motown days.
This thing's probably worth a lot of money.
Yeah, they are. One time I sold a record for $1,400, and then I stopped selling them.
In the 50s, in high school, they called him the Rock and Roll Kid.
I started doing blues and I started doing rockabilly. I was 14 at McKinsey High School. I had my rockabilly guitar and I'm doing Blue Suede Shoes and singing it at an assembly, and the kids are going nuts. And I got to tell you, this spinster teacher thought it was too suggestive, and she pulled the plug on my amplifier before I could get done. That's the first record I ever played on. I'm Gone by Vic Gallen. If you listen to the Vic Gallen record, you'll hear me doing a rockabilly solo at the age of 15. Wow, you get paid for playing music. This is pretty cool. I got a keychain, 4-foot long. Got me a brand new backseat speaker. We did a session called Crazy Little Satellite about the satellite. And so we actually recorded that record at United Sound, and Barry Gordy was the arranger on that session. The record didn't come out in a year, so we were only like still, I don't know, 16 or 17. So I says, well, obviously this record business isn't happening. So I just told him I wanted out of my contract and I wasn't interested in the record business anymore. I don't think Barry probably even knows to this day that that's where I first met him.
After high school, Coffey joined the Army Airborne in Kentucky.
Being airborne is crazy anyways. They give you combat pay for jumping out of planes. I get back, still only 20 years old, so now I'm playing 6 nights a week and making a good living doing music. Back in those days, you could work 6 nights a week in a club and make a living at it. And then I was a member of the Royal Tones, and we were signed to Harry Balk's label. Del Shannon was one of his artists, so I played on Handyman with Del Shannon, Little Town Flirt, all that stuff. Del Shannon told me that the Beatles used to open up for him in England.
That little town flirt.
As the British invaded, Coffey played on, joining recording partner Mike Theodore. They became record producers, all while Coffey worked at Motown as a freelance funk brother. Coffey and Theodore produced Rare Earth's first album.
See this guy right here? That's me, because their guitar player got lost on the way to the picture, so I put on sunglasses and got in there.
They also produced Rodriguez,
He's my most memorable artist.
the Searching for Sugar Man Rodriguez. And Coffey put out a record of his own,
This was the very first one.
an LP and a single.
This is It's Your Thing, you know, the first instrumental I had out. Dennis Coffey and the Lyman Woodard Trio.
It didn't sell like the Isley Brothers version. Coffey had to wait a couple years. It was 1971.
This is the Evolution album.
Got now for Dennis Coffey, the Detroit Guitar Band, and Scorpio.
I said, well, you know what? What if I write some songs and I'm going to make it like a guitar band? And I'm going to have guitars doing horns and string parts. So, and that whole thing just took off, but it took a year before that was a hit.
It's been said Scorpio's breakbeat would help lay the foundation for the hip-hop sound.
Once Motown left, there were no sessions here anymore. I mean, there was nothing here for me to make extra money doing that. I said, you know, maybe this is the time for us to go out to LA, because I always wanted to do a movie.
Black Belt Jones.
Black BELTJONES, yeah. It's a karate guy. And
The combo blaxploitation karate.
it was. It certainly was, yeah.
Enter Jim Dragon Kelly.
I was in LA for 3 years, from 73 to 76, and I got up one day and I said, you know what? I don't even like it out here. It's not fun for me. I'm a Detroit guy. Detroit is just, it's my vibe.
Back in the midst of a recession, Coffey had a tough decision to make.
I went to work on the assembly line at General Motors.
Someone realized who the new hire was. Worried the guitarist's hands could be ruined, he moved Coffey to a less dangerous job. Coffey went to college, became an expert on the lean manufacturing process, and he trained the people running the assembly lines.
I made a good living at it.
Coffey kept playing and recording, too.
Can you get the other stuff, Dave? All right.
Dennis can play anything. He is just amazing. So we've been down to hear him at Northern Lights, and you know, there isn't anything he can't do. And when he came out with this kind of a new genre that fits into our schedule, we thought it'd be great to have him.
Coffey's put together a combo for the Greater Detroit Jazz Society at the Shields Restaurant in Southfield. Jerry McKenzie played with Stan Kenton, Ray Tini with Paul Anka. That's Dave Tatro on trumpet, Scott Quinnell at the keyboard.
We're playing more contemporary jazz, not the far-out avant-garde type jazz. It's just straight-ahead American songbook that we're doing in there.
To be able to play with the master, I get to check that off my bucket list, and you know, and hopefully do some more of these gigs, because it's thrilling to play with a legend.
For a 6-string instrument, I'm still a student of the instrument. For 6 strings, there's a lot of possibilities left yet, on the guitar.
As we're all adjusting to life in quarantine and social distancing, we still really have no idea when live performances will be coming back. So with this show, we are taking on more arts and culture stories to give you the performances that you're missing and give you an idea of how you can help out some of the cultural organizations that are across our area. We're also partnering up with the Detroit Free Press to give you even more coverage. And I caught up recently with music writer and columnist Brian McCollum for the changing arts and culture scene in Detroit moving forward.
I think at the end of the day, it's safe to say that nothing replaces the experience of a live communal gathering with lots of people and the emotion of the moment of a real live concert.
Yeah, and you wonder, will we ever be in those spaces again, and what will that look like? So you were talking about, what was the last big concert in Detroit?
Not just one of the last big concerts in Detroit, but possibly the last major stadium show in the United States.
Yeah, there you go, Garth Brooks.
Before the world turned upside down. And I'll show you something as well that might send a little shiver up your spine. This was the scene inside that stadium that night.
At Whorf. Amazing.
It's going to be a long time before we see that sort of scenario again.
Is this like the disruption that is going to have to spawn something totally different in the music industry?
We're starting to see some promoters in Europe are experimenting with drive-in concerts, literally people in their vehicles pulling up a la the old outdoor movie cinemas. There's one thing that's been missing with these online events. They've mostly been solo performances just by virtue of the social distancing. So you're not seeing a lot of bands and whatnot. Yeah, you'll probably see some innovative stuff like maybe an outdoor show where there's a performer up on a stage and X number of people can spread out blankets this far apart in a park. In fact, I would bet stuff outdoors will be the first thing we might see coming back on the scene.
So you are working on a story on an event for the city of Detroit is putting on a virtual event.
Yeah, there's it's been coming together for quite a while now, actually. And this is through the mayor's office, actually, who's been spearheading this in partnership with some of the other arts institutions and foundations in town. They're calling it Everybody versus COVID, which is inspired by the Detroit versus Everybody that'll feature 40-something artists, performers, celebrities doing a mix of performances and PSAs. And
Detroit Public Television and the Detroit Free Press are kind of teaming up now to pool our resources to cover arts and culture really and expand it, because I think so many people are hungering for a lot of the things that brought them joy in the arts and be able to gather with people.
A lot of times the best art is forged out of turbulent times and difficult personal circumstances and all the rest of it. And certainly nowhere less than in Detroit over the decades, even, the volume of great world-changing music that's come out of this place is, never ceases to amaze. And I think a lot of it has to do with Detroit's uniquely gritty environment and all the rest of that stuff. And sure, I think we are undoubtedly going to see some great art emerge out of this time. And, and once we have a chance to look back on it all and take stock, there's nothing great about what's going on right now, but the fruits of it will be interesting to see.
Well, this week launches a pretty unique performance from the Michigan Opera Theater. It is their first virtual opera with the children's chorus, and it's all part of a new outreach program. WRCJ's Peter Whorf has the story.
The children's chorus began in 2007. 2 years prior to that, David DiChiara asked me if I would start a children's chorus. I did a lot of research and found out there were very few that had performance aspects of being like children doing their own opera as the leads, as well as the chorus. So I went back to David D and I said that I'd like to do this, and we'll have the ages of 10 to 16 about 50 kids, and we'll meet every Monday night. But one of the things is the fall, we would concentrate on singing technique, working with conductors, and then performing on the main stage it was called A Winter Fantasy. And then in the spring, one of the things with this is that we wanted to have the kids perform in their own opera on our stage. So the kids got an opportunity to work with professionals, and they're on the stage. We were really excited that to come into Detroit during the worst time, 2007, 2008, and bring this type of organization, and educational opportunities to Detroit kids was great. So, and David D. Chiara was really supportive.
Well, there's a change of plans for May 22nd with the opera. Let's talk about that. But first, what's the opera about?
Well, it's the very last green thing. And what it's about is that children in 1999 put different items into a time capsule. And one of the items is a green thing. And then you have to go fast forward to 2492. And these kids in 2492 find the capsule, and they take things like gym shoes and bubbles, and they're curious, like, what is this? And then finally the green thing comes up, and they don't know what it is because they've never seen green, because everything is devastated and they have to wear glasses to go outside and mask and everything. So it's about discovering the green thing. And there's a past chorus, the kids from 1999, that are sort of like talking to these kids in the future, 2492, and giving them the history of what happened. So
I should mention maybe that this was a piece that was selected before the world was turned upside down.
Yes.
So what is happening? How will people see the very last green thing?
I started looking online and looking at the Zoom performances and everything that was virtual with choirs, but that was like 3 minutes of a piece. And then I got to think, well, I wonder if we could do this, just capture moments of this on video, put it together as an opera, but we would cut the scene change music because we don't need that anymore. And certain filler music, we could probably cut some of that. So we reduced it to about 30 minutes. So we call it, let's make a virtual opera project. It's going to have scenes. Monica Essen, who is our resident designer, is making the title cards, and we're using some elements of her original design for the stage. We'll have video, and we'll have some graphics. And so then we'll weave this in and out, and we'll have, it's the whole story from beginning to end. A little different version though. You'll see kids in boxes rather than on the stage, but you will see, as I said, a virtual opera with some of the design elements. We can't do everything. We won't have a set, and we don't have the costumes that we originally had, but it tells the story, and we're making art in a new way.
May 22nd brings the online performance of The Very Last Green Thing from Michigan Opera Theater Children's Chorus. It's part of the Michigan Opera Theater Learn at Home experience. Thanks, Suzanne.
We will have a link to this week's performance and so much more information, so just go to our website at onedetroitpbs.org. All right, turning now to Mark Scott, the lead singer of the legendary Motown group, The Miracles. Stephen Henderson caught up with him this week to talk a little bit about loss and inspiration during COVID-19.
So this is a tough time for everybody.
Absolutely.
Especially a tough time for artists. I feel like artists are rising to a new level because of what's going on and making a really important contribution. Tell me about this song that you've written.
I was having a chat with one of my agents, and I used a line. I said, I'll see you on the other side. Mm-hmm. She said, oh, that's a song title. You ought to work on that.
We'll fight together for humanity. We'll stay the course and we'll have a victory. And I'll see you. We'll see you on the other side. Yeah.
It made me a little teary. I think lots of things right now make me teary. So, but there's real great emotion behind the lyrics.
Yeah, I wanted it to be impactful.
Yeah.
And then I wanted it to also have a positive spirit about it that would give people a sense of hope.
Yeah.
That in spite of the difficulties that we're experiencing right now, if we do the right things now, then we can get past this and move on, into the next phase.
Here you started with a lyric and wrote around it. Talk about that process.
I had to wait on the inspiration to be moved by the subject matter.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that while we're doing this, I'm working on an album too, and so I had to jerk myself away from that, plug into this pandemic, and think about what I could say to people that would inspire them. Because you can't go, baby, when after it's over with, I'll take you out on a date and we'll dance, and that's not relevant, you see. So I had to come away from that. The ooh baby.
Not a pop song.
Exactly. It's more of a cultural thing.
You mentioned you're working on an album. Tell us a little about that. The Miracles is a group that has such a rich history, not just, of course, here in Detroit, but all over the world.
Well, sure. Anything I do is an extension from my experience with the Miracles and working with Bobby Rogers for multiple years. But when I do something, I generally do it under my own brand. But the history is the history. It is what it is, and you can't erase or forget what you've done. You can only expound and move forward. And I try to do it with respect to the legacy.
Yeah.
Not to drop the ball, but to lift the ball up and take it to another height.
There are so many things that are going to be different in the world, and I worry a lot about things like concerts and other ways that we enjoy culture. How do we make sure that survives?
From my point of view, this is not as bad to me as it probably could be. I may be, confined here, but I still can write. I can still create. I get to know who my family is now. So, so that's a good thing. Here's the way I look at it. You're going to look back at these times.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be so busy, and you're not going to have time to do what you're doing right now, to actually get into yourself.
Yeah.
Get into the people around you, the people that you love, reconnect spiritually with your family and your friends.
Tell me what you hope for this song and what it does and what it means.
My aspiration for it would be that the people would listen to it and aspire. We talk about, the fight together. And at the end of the road, we'll have a victory. That's what I want them to get out of it.
And that is going to do it for One Detroit. Thanks so much for joining us. For all of our stories and our daily interviews, just go to our website at onedetroitpbs.org. All right, we're going to leave you tonight with a campaign to help ballet companies around the world. And I have a soft spot in my heart for dance because my oldest daughter is a dancer. So when I saw this on social media, I knew I really wanted to share it on the show. It's Misty Copeland and 32 ballerinas from around the world performing Swan Lake in their homes. And it's all an effort to raise money for dancers who are out of work right now. So enjoy Project Swan. I will see you next time. Take care. You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.
Support for this program provided by W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, MASCO Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. MASCO, serving Michigan communities since 1929. The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. NISSAN Foundation, and viewers like you.